must be our goal and our guide. And all that we strive for as a human family, dignity and hope, progress and prosperity, depends on peace. But peace depends on us.
Way back in 1998, the late Secretary General of the United Nations by name Kofi Annan thought of an idea, brought an idea of saying the only way to bring world order where crimes committed that are not punishable in local courts, local countries, regional courts could be taken to an international crimes court. The Rome Statute and Rome Treaty of 1998 July was an offspring of already cooked DSGE intelligence system mechanism to keep Africa under check. Up to date, the French government pays 70% of the salaries of the International Criminal Court, from the porter to the judge to the prosecutor and the rest of the other people. This was a project of Kofi Annan and the Kofi Annan Foundation, followed by George Soros as an accomplice of Kofi Annan, brought in by Luis Moreno Campo and the entire system of the West, some countries in the West, to keep check on African countries that did not agree with the policies of the French and to their policies of Western culture. The International Criminal Court Chief Prosecutor Luis Moreno Campo agreed in all this that yes, he has been picking money, extra monies, and we followed the story together with my group in France, powerful investigators in France who worked together with me, and we found out that, truly speaking, Luis Moreno Campo, Fernandez Gumedi, the former judge, the president of the International Criminal Court, laundered money, some coming from American banks themselves. This evidence was put in the ICC. In the case of Bashir versus the chief prosecutor, I filed an application which I still have and which I'm going to publicize again so that people can know that I was right. I've been vindicated because the American friends now have found that my credibility is real, that I was right when I stood up to say this court is corrupt. This court launders money, $17 million of United States money, laundered through Bahamas, through New York banks, back to Ocampo's personal assistant, by then called Fernandez Gumedi Silvia, who later on rose to the ranks of becoming the president of International Criminal Court. It has taken us time, energy, effort, resources to investigate the corruption scandal that have rocked the International Criminal Court. Why should African countries continue to be in the ICC? Yet even the superpowers like America are saying no, we have enough courts to try our own people. Viewers, it has taken Americans over 20 years to listen to our voices when we told Rainberger in Nairobi that this court is a corrupt court.
Today, on the eve of September the 11th, I want to deliver a clear and unambiguous message on behalf of the President of the United States. The United States will use any means necessary to protect our citizens and those of our allies from unjust prosecution by this illegitimate court. We will not cooperate with the ICC. We will provide no assistance to the ICC, and we certainly will not join the ICC. We will let the ICC die on its own. After all, for all intents and purposes, the ICC is already dead to us.
A case of the Kenyan people. These cases in Kenya, the chief prosecutor called Fatou Bensouda put serious statements at the end of the cases, discharge and termination. In legal language, these cases pose a very serious threat in the future. What the people of Kenya can do, and they should do, is today to wrap up the work envelope. Because until this envelope is sealed, thrown in Indian Ocean, the chief prosecutor in the future will come and look for that envelope, use it to incriminate people again. It brings me back to the situation. America is sealing its journey out of the ICC. Why do you wait? Why don't you take this opportunity to seal your journeys out of the ICC? America is quitting, warning that it cannot no longer be a party to such an obnoxious court, a court that has no powers, that talks from this side and vomits from the other side, a court that cuts and pastes evidence, a court that buys witnesses, a court that incites incentives, gives incentives to witnesses of a passport and a relocation, then you tell lies about people. A court that sentences you as per the words there. Why should you leave a country that has a jury that checks on what the judges would do, the excesses of judges, and go to a country, a court that has no jury? Time has come for Africa to think. Do we need this court? Does Africa need this court? I want to call upon the people of Abazonia today, wherever you are in the diaspora, in Abazonia itself, that in a struggle you are bound to have divisions. But divisions should not divert you from the main focus, the main challenge. We have struggled to expose the happenings, the human rights abuses in Abazonia. The army has killed hundreds and hundreds of thousands, burnt houses of people, internet was cut off, schools were closed, dispensaries, hospitals were burnt down. Abazonians should not be intimidated by Paul Robia. It is not upon the leaders of Abazonia, because I am not from Abazonia, but I've played a pivotal role in making sure that I loud out the voices, I put out the call, I call upon AU, EU, United Nations, Human Rights Watch, Amnesty International. Many of them have listened to some of the things that I say here, and they have come at last. America, United States of America, is slowly moving towards giving the Abazonian people the dignity they deserve. I therefore call upon the leaders and the leadership of the Abazonian people to unite for a purpose. The unity of purpose is paramount, as opposed to disunity, which has nothing but only produces ego that we have seen in South Sudan. What has killed South Sudan is not because they don't have the money, the minerals, the resources. Is ego between Riek Machar and Salva Kiir. We would not like to see that ego come to the people of Abazonia, the leadership of Abazonia. I call upon Samuel Sako, Akanga, Miran, and Eko to unite and talk with one voice on international scene that will bring about the peace, the tranquility that you yearn for since 1961, when the resolution 1608 was abandoned by the United Nations General Assembly and Abazonia was annexed by the Cameroon government by then. I call upon you, my brothers, to pick up the unity call and free your people without disintegration. Thank you. Good afternoon, viewers. Welcome to Punchline Africa TV, broadcasting all the way from the Republic of Kenya in Nairobi. It is a sunshine, very fantastic. Wherever you were in Nairobi, the sun has come out. I think we are getting out of the cold weather that we had experienced. Thank you very much, viewers, wherever you were in the world. In the United Nations General Assembly, commonly known as UNGA. UNGA is a body that looks at all international problems, security, peace, conflicts, starvation, hunger, disease. They all come in the same month of September. If you go to the United Nations, like I used to go, when I was working with Dr. Militon Obote, we used to go quite often, and you could listen to all the diseases that Africa has. Committees upon committee room and this, all this. Thank you very much, African leaders. But remember, Mugabe said, there is no need of going to this place every day without a change. There must be change. Honor the word of President Robert Gabriel Mugabe. Make United Nations workable. United Nations, let it bite. Security Council, we should be permanent members, not rotating members. We don't rotate like a clock. We are permanently fixed on the African continent. And I don't see why we have been called rotating members. Rotational. Why should we be rotational? The Second World War is over. The war is over. Germany has rebuilt itself. This institution of the United Nations must change. It must improve. It must be dynamic. It can't be static all the time throughout. And Africans waste all the fuel, all the planes going into hunger to a place which is not rotating. If it is rotational, let's all rotate. We are equal members. After that time when it was formed, Africa was not an equal member. It was called a developing continent. We have developed. We have moved stages. We have the resources. We have not utilized our resources. We are just beginning to eat the little that God gave us. And that is why it is called hunger. So many things are in it. Today, we shall first begin with a few remarks. Our topic today, there are two topics. As I promised you, my topic now is Somalia. Somalia and me, we shall, until we finish and they come to the table. I want Somalia and Kenya to come to table to discuss the maritime dispute that has created chaos for this country. Less than that, we continue to hammer each other up to the end. Today's topic is very symbolic, that we want to know, Somalia, is the president of Somalia a Somali or an American? What next for Somali president after he has surrendered his passport today to go to Unga? You know, very few people know. That is why we want to bring the topic for people to know, for Somalis to know, for people in Mogadishu to know whether this man is their president, whether he should take a new oath, because he took oath on the American passport. So a Somali is going to be dumb and watch a president who took an oath on an American passport, or now that he has surrendered the American passport, the law in Somalia does not accept fraudulent operations. Therefore, he should now either decide to make a new swearing-in ceremony or dissolve the cabinet, the president, and seek a quick re-election. Because you elected, Somali people elected Famijo, Mohammed Famijo, known as Famijo. They elected an American president. So if you are an American president, you have an American passport, you can't go to the United Nations and address on American soil, because there is only one American president who can address the United Nations General Assembly. Are we together out there? So Famijo has not been addressing the United Nations General Assembly. The other thief of oil, called Hassan Halie, was the one addressing the United Nations General Assembly, because for him, he has a Norwegian passport. You see where problem is? Mr. Famijo, Mohammed Famijo, you touched me. You called me a fat kafir. And you were saying it in Villa Somalia in presence of 6 members of your cabinet, some of them whom I helped to fill forms in the United Kingdom. And they called me, they told me, 2 of them were not happy with your statement. But this is not the occasion for me. I'm writing to you to withdraw that word of calling me a kafir. Because you are not different from Al-Shabaab, who slaughter people because they are not Muslims. So for a president of Africa to call me a fatty kafir, because I am only trying to tell Somalia, get out of the ICJ. ICJ, we shall live together for years and years to come. ICJ will not live together with us. It will make a ruling that will hurt Ugandan troops that have died protecting what you are enjoying, the money you are drawing, the salaries you are picking from Norway, Qatar, United Arab Emirates, every day. It's because of Ugandan blood that is there. So for you to call me a fat kafir until you apologize, you remember in Villa when we were broadcasting this thing on night on Thursday. You said in front of 6 cabinet members that who is this fat kafir? So you called me a kafir. But now I'm going to dig everything. You have touched a wrong button on this continent. When I go for something, I get it. And I will get it. Now I want to know whether you are an American president or a Somali president. And the two, and I'm going to use the brains, not famijo, not cheese. I'm not also going to use cheese. I will use the brain. So that I want to find out whether Somalis, the Somali people, should now go for an election, an early election. You invited the trouble at your doorsteps. In Africa, you don't touch Matanga. The best thing is to be on the side of Matanga. Because I will make you run out of that villa of Somalia. I'm telling you. Not by fighting, but by brain. So I'm on you on a daily basis. You and the Prime Minister of Somalia, we must, one of us has to get, you have got to get, you are taking the people of Somalia like they are your commodities. This other one is a mafia who sold the blocks. And he's trying to cover his trades by selling the blocks to Ale, using the money. We don't know where the money went. Now this other one is calling me a kafir. Okay, thank you. From today, it is inch by inch. And let's get it very clear, Mr. Famijo. Are you addressing the United Nations Security Council, AUNGA, as an American? Because you have no legitimacy. You withdrew your passport. You surrendered your American passport, upon which you should have told Somalis, I have an American passport. If you are going to be a president of Somalia, you should have renounced your nationality, the dual nationality, and obtained even a paper, an identity card showing you are a Somali. So that the presidency in Somalia is null and void. And I want to take to Famijo. Famijo doesn't know that most of the Somalis who are ruling in that parliament, I am the one who was filling their forms in London when they came as refugees. Yes, the MPs, over 70 MPs are known to me personally. I will cause a coup there, Mr. Famajo. I'm now telling you the truth. You touched me. You said I'm a kafir. And now guess who told me? Is one of those. The ministers are there. They were not happy. They are my friends. I have helped them in London before. I've helped them in Uganda Community Relief Association when they came as refugees. I have helped them how to organize themselves in Streatham, in Croydon, in West Ham, in East Ham, in all these places. I have helped them. And for you to call me a kafir, now I am working on you until you get out of, you either get out of the court, come back as an African. Now that you have renounced the American passport, come back to the African Union and seek mediation that will end the conflict of the great Eastern world trade route. How do you give a trade route to lawlessness? Lawlessness. How? You give to lawlessness people to guard a trade route? Impossible. So Famijo, Mohammed, Your Excellency, you owe me an apology for calling me a fat kafir. I'm working on this size very soon. I will not remain famijo because I don't eat cheese. There you are. Thank you very much. Let me go to the point. But before I do that, I would like to look at the Kenyan news. You have some headlines?
We do not even come with the papers today.
We didn't come with the papers, but we saw one paper where President Uhuru Kenyatta is a political genius. Yes. Because he's a Pan-African, he stands like us.
He was in Japan, no?
Yeah, he's genius. In Singapore.
Oh, in Singapore, yes.
Genius. He is one of the few people that you can look at in Africa as a person who will live, resurrect, make an African renaissance. May God hold your hand, President, that one day, and one day alone, that you rise and create a renaissance. I don't want to speak like Martin Luther King, but I want to predict that Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta will one day create a renaissance on this continent that will rebuild Africa, change Africa position. After the departure of Mugabe, we now have Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta and other leaders coming up who should shape this continent. This continent needs a direction. His Excellency was in Singapore inspecting housing as a priority. If you look at the way in Singapore, how people have made their houses, you can't say it is impossible. The biggest problem that we have here is corruption. And one of the biggest problem of corruption is tribalism. And one of the biggest problem of tribalism is stupidity. Stupidity. A man, Professor Mulukomen, Senator Mulukomen, a leader of majority, handling government documents, who is supposed to put government motions, comes to insult the president day in, day out. Lifestyle, don't bring it. This, don't bring it. That, don't bring it. Kimeror, eat it. In fact, you know, the worst thing of this, when I reach this damn money, and when I don't have 10,000 even in the pocket, the emotions run so high. These guys organize a haste, theft. Don't call it anything. President Kenyatta, you were right to cancel. Just cancel. You did a right thing to cancel. They knew there was no feasibility study. They overpriced the entire thing. They sat in a hotel in Italy and did haste. It's a banker haste. They stole the money. Let's be very honest. If I were them, I would keep quiet. Kenyatta has saved a situation. You can, mix yourself inside there, and you disappear.
And Murkomen was the first one to complain when the president announced that a project was cancelled, the Kimorer one. But Arol, I think it had started, so Arol, I think, will continue. But Murkomen was the one who was the first person to come out and complain about the cancellation.
And then he was the first one when they arrested, when they wanted 100 people to report to DCI. Those who bought forks, cutlery, spoons, cement, towels, bed sheets, blankets, were told to go to DCI, Director of Criminal Investigation. They recorded statements how they came to benefit from the money. When feasibility study, you can't be a minister of finance. You sign a document when you haven't seen bills of quantity that include the feasibility study, whether the project you are signing is viable or not. I have no respect for Rotich. And I want to repeat I don't have respect anymore for him. In fact, when I find him in a place where we drink, I just want to jump out of the window.
And they used, I think, different designs from another dam.
Yes.
To present that here in Kenya. They did not even have the designs, the architectural designs that were required to be presented even before the project took off, which never did, but money was spent.
Exactly. So that is the situation. President Uhuru Kenyatta, thank you very much for the job. Continue doing what you can. Bring the housing, but prune out corruption. Prune it out, kabisa. We have a few days, I don't want to name them here, but time is ticking against us. It is like reaching Damascus, and the Israelis were counting how many planes of Egypt were left on the ground. In 1967 war, as soon as NASA ordered for the planes to take off, in 5 minutes, 1,700 Air Force planes were all smashed. It ended the war between the Egypt and Israel.
And speaking about Egypt, the chairperson of AU, we mentioned here, is in trouble. After he left for the United Nations General Assembly there have been some protests in the streets back to the square. What do you call that very famous square?
Yes.
They're protesting. They want him out now.
Assisi.
From Friday.
Talk about Assisi. Assisi is a man who has dismembered Libya. Assisi has given General Khalifa Haftar, arms to go and kill other Libyans. It is Assisi. It is United Arab Emirates. It is France. Those countries that are making Libya bleed. When it comes to Somalia, it is Qatar, United Arab Emirates to one end, France looking for oil, United States of America. There is a man in Arizona, I want to talk to you. The one who bought these blocks. My investigators are approaching there. The one who bought the blocks that are disturbing us in Indian Ocean. And the one mafia man, oligarchy from Russia. These are the people we want to talk to, if they are available. But if they are not available, we are going to release the report again to ICJ. We complain. We own the complaint. We are not a state. Ours to have pile and a pile more complaints. Let the UN help us. You see? Mm-hmm. So those are the people who have killed Africa. Assisi, if Tehran, is it the square in Egypt is called something. Anybody out there who knows the square, my too many words have hit my head. The square that through Hosni Mubarak.
They're back there from Friday.
Yes, come in.
So they waited for him to leave for the United Nations General Assembly meeting there in New York, and then it's been running battles between Egyptians and the authorities. Mm-hmm. So let's see how that will play out for Assisi.
You know what? The guy, I thought the action he took to get Hosni Mubarak. Mubarak might have been a thief, a corrupt man. I want to tell Egyptians that next time, don't do what you did to Mubarak.
It's Tahrir Square.
Tahrir Square. Mm-hmm. Thank you very much, Bidal Losuba.
Losuba, yes.
Come in big numbers. That is another regime change. But I told you.
But who would want to have the regime change in Egypt?
George Soros. Have you heard that George Soros is in Hong Kong?
But Egypt seems to be in good terms with the US.
Good. It is not. George Soros is part of the CIA.
They've been in working partnership.
No.
To bombard Libya.
George Soros is one branch of the CIA. What the CIA, main CIA branch cannot do, George Soros does it. Have you ever seen of a man who can launder money? He launders money. He gives that prime minister of Somalia money. He gives that judge of ICJ, Yusuf Abdallah Yusuf, money. He has sponsored him on several projects when he was working in America with Famijo. That is, have you seen the link? I've followed them now. They cannot escape me. Then America comes to arrest people. America comes to give Kaihura a ban who did not even launder 1 shilling. Kaihura has no bank account in the United States. They just, instead of saying they wanted to give Museveni a ban, they have given an innocent man. Why don't they come out straight? Because they know very well that if they said they have given Museveni a visa ban to enter US, he will pull the troops. We pull them out, and we pull them out and we leave it. We are the biggest contingent. We are the biggest contingent in Somalia, and this Famijo is playing with us. Let him know that I will talk to President Museveni in a capacity. You know, some people think I don't talk to him. I talk to me. One of the things that I have, I'm clear-minded, is I pick the phone. He gave me 80 numbers. And out of 8, if one is not working, the other one is working. And I tell him, no, the things you are doing, don't beat that boy too much. He will only sing at your coronation. You are going to win an election by 12 midday. Because there are no politicians. All the politicians, opposition in Uganda, are more of militarists. In fact, Besigye is more of a militant. Have you seen a militant who is more of a militant than even Museveni? Me, I wouldn't serve under such a government. The opposition in Uganda becomes more militant than even the government. The government is killing people in safe houses. If instead of opposition bringing a motion to expose this, they are only quarreling. So it is Museveni will win this election by 12 midday. Why do you waste time to take your name there and wakufinye mbavu bure? Since Uganda yone bankuba bakukube bakute bwerere rwa politics, yet the opposition in Uganda has not organized itself. The opposition in Uganda is a disgruntled opposition, very paranoid with itself. None of them can do what Raila has done in Kenya. Raila in Kenya molded an opposition unit. In Uganda, basically wants leadership. This small singer man here, this bangi smoker, wants leadership. He smokes bangi. Another one, what in the hell? Nobody can give them leadership. Ugandans are going to vote Museveni by 12 mid. So why do you argue and then you get your eye broken down for nothing?
But the argument is that there's no level play field.
So then why have they not made it leveled?
Because the government has...
They go in the parliament, this younger boy, this small boy, brought fighting tactics in the parliament. You saw the fighting that took place in the Uganda parliament. It was worse than the bombing of your Kima and your Shaka and Osaka in Japan. Mama, you saw a behavior of bang addicts and the cocaine. You start fighting in the parliament, jump over everybody. Instead of discussing. That behavior is for South Africans, not for us decent people up here. Because South Africans are not decent. I'm sorry. Very few. I have never found one who is decent. I have found one. It is actually Mbeki. Because when you travel with Mbeki, you laugh, you enjoy, you share a drink, you share all jokes. He's very organized. But the rest of them are beating, they want to beat you. They greet you and they say, welcome to Africa. Then you said, I came from where? Planet Venus or Mars?
Yes, indeed, the politics. And Uganda is supposed to be going to the general election. Is it next year or the other year?
2021.
2021, yeah, with us. We'll have all no, us is 2022, so a year before Kenya, yes.
You're infernal. Patience Magezi, I don't care. I'm also a Ugandan. You can call me, and it's good you have said the old man. You should call me Mzee. Don't call me an old man. I'm not in a retirement benefit hospice. Old people are in hospice. So I don't care, Magezi, but that's the truth. Ugandan opposition is not organized. They cannot take friendship, leadership. Kenyan opposition is organized. Raila always rallies them. Magezi, that is where my point is. Please. My point is not that there is no suffering in Uganda. It is there. People are suffering.
And the government has not allowed for a democratic space for people
yes,
to really exercise their...
But you don't eat democracy. Do you eat it? Where is it? Tell me where democracy has filled the plate. Show me. In Kenya here there is democracy. But are there people not stealing money from the Kemerero Dam? Tell me.
But still democracy is important.
Yes.
For a country to develop forward.
It is.
And to have
it is important, but how do you put it down? You go to parliament to make the laws, not to jump and get a microphone and then start beating everybody. That is what I mean. There is no democracy.
When you even have military in parliament.
And then the military comes to fight.
The government
now,
infiltrates.
maybe the military has to come.
It's very militarized.
To remove the men who were fighting. You saw it. It was childish.
But because we have military being represented in the Ugandan parliament, which you told me and I was shocked. How many military do we have members of parliament, which I think the eyes and the ears for the president out there. So it's a sort of different democracy there in Uganda. And
Farah Atan insults, go and tell Famijo to go and remove cheese, which he has. My father never worked in a cheese factory. If you want, we shall do it. You see, you think you feel good when Famijo calls me a fat kafir. I don't mind you calling me fat, but you can't call me a kafir when you're president of Africa. No way.
Max Martins there is saying this George Soros seems to be the problem in many African countries. Who is he exactly? So Max Martins does...
Yes, he's now in Hong Kong. He has taken money in Hong Kong.
Right now?
Yes, he's buying masks for tear gas, more in preparation for a showdown with the Chinese. So that is why I told you, George Soros is a branch of CIA. I was making a point that if George Soros is laundering money, is paying Chamisa in Zimbabwe to overthrow Mnangagwa, why can the American government arrest Mr. George Soros? Trump was insulting George Soros. But their buildings are next to each other. If you go to New York,
the Trump Tower.
The Trump Tower, and then you go down, you'll find the Soros Tower. Why can't Trump arrest George Soros to save us regime change in Africa? That's why I've told you, George Soros is a branch of the Central Intelligence Agency that mutilates Africa, pays for weak-minded people like Bob Wine. Because when I talk, I have facts. When I talk, I've been approached, and I told them, I don't want to be involved in your cheap politics of that country. It's cheap. because you are getting money from George Soros to go and kill Ugandans. I wouldn't be a party. I don't want to be involved. Show me which political party in Uganda has money to rhyme with a man who has accumulated money for 34 years.
And maybe that's what they're tired of.
So tired of, and you'll fight with saliva.
And he has...
Miriam, I tried. These Ugandans insult people every day. This Patience Magezi, that's the way they insulted me, and I left.
Oh, she's Ugandan.
Yes, Patience Magezi is a Ugandan named Munyoro. By the way, we don't call people by tribes, but he's a Ugandan from western part of, I'm sorry, Magezi. It's a crime in Uganda to call someone by tribe. Magezi is from Bunyoro. But I tried. From 1982, I've been fighting Museveni. I tried and they insulted me. These same people. Besigye was eating. I have never eaten. I have never eaten. Besigye was the minister who was locking us up. In 1985, 86, 87, he locked many of us up. The bed that he made is the bed he's sleeping on.
He's very much sleeping.
So you want me to forget history and laugh with you people? If you were born after 1986, 5, 82, shut up. I'm talking about my history. All these guys have been working. All the opposition men in Uganda have been working with Museveni. So what credibility do they have to go and criticize him?
So they don't have the moral authority.
No moral grounds.
They worked in
no.
And they help put these policies in place that are now hurting them.
Exactly. That's why he's going. February 18th, that's the date of election. By midday, God willing, we shall be together with you.
February 18th.
And by then, our television station would have become a Pan-African.
All over.
Yes, all over with branches. You know, one branch we're opening in Zimbabwe in the end of the next month. So we shall be somewhere if God willing. But Museveni will win by midday.
Anoka here is saying cheese is delicious appetizer. Africa should start making. Actually, I love cheese, but now when you talk about
you go to
I should stop taking it.
you see, if you love cheese,
on my salad I do.
Yes, you love cheese, but if you love cheese, then you love famijo.
But no, we make cheese here. KCC makes cheese. Kenya cream.
Yes, actually it is famijo's speciality.
I didn't know that.
That's why he calls me kafir. Yeah, honestly, he was in the office watching our program, you and me. We were being watched in Villa, Somalia, and he called me this fat boy kafir. He called me. He should have used the word fat, no problem. But to add the word kafir, he owes me an apology.
But I think that's how Muslims, I think, perceive any other religion that is not Muslim, like you're
I have never called it a famijo anybody name.
In regards to the religion.
Yes, but you can't cross that line. So I am dismantling this government of Somalia. It's going to go down. Those men, out of the MPs, 103 are the men I filled the forms in Streatham and Croydon and West Ham. Show me where Famijo has a majority there. Angoje, Nakuja. You touch Matanga, you are done. Africa does not like that. Yes.
And of course, Somalia's President Mohamed Abdullahi Mohamed has renounced his American citizenship. And Mohamed, who is widely known as Famajo, began the process of relinquishing his second citizenship shortly after being elected in 2017. And despite the Somali constitution allowing for dual nationality. But what would have advised for him to now?
Because he can't
be president.
Can I tell you? He can't address the United Nations. Let's tell Somalis the truth. And the Somali people wake up and listen. Famajo or Famijo or whatever you call him anymore. He cannot address United Nations with an American passport. So he lied to Somali people that is able. He did not renounce his nationality. The passports in Somalia has printed passports now. You can't say there are no passports in Somalia.
But it's one of the weakest in the world.
No, it doesn't matter. But it's a national identity card. Why didn't Famijo renounce before he goes for elections? So now he has renounced in the middle of his term. He should call for elections now. Then go and swear again on Somali passport. Otherwise, he's not a president.
So the constitution says that if you are to become Somalia's president, you must only have
one passport. Yes.
But it allows for dual nationality because of the problem Somalia has been facing.
Exactly.
But for
it's an exception.
For the presidency.
For the presidency, he should have told the Somalis that he has 1, 2, 3, 5 passports.
He has so many?
He
should have made it clear.
He has even a Canadian because by virtue of the wife. My friend, I've dug them out, man. I am going to smoke them out. The only thing Famijo now can, when he returns from UN, he better now convince Somali parliament. Otherwise, the Mali parliament is going to be on fire. They don't have a president anymore.
But why hasn't...
They have a different man.
But why hasn't they complained yet?
They had been complaining. But we wait for the scandal to happen. How can you complain do something when it hasn't happened? Now we have proof. The proof is there. This is not an African president. This is an American man who took Kenya to the ICJ. Have you seen that? And I'm working on the instructions of Chevron in Texas. I'm looking for that Musungu in Texas. I'm coming. My people will be there by Thursday.
Chevron, the
yes.
car maker.
And another oil company. Not the Chevron, the oil company.
Okay. And Shmuel Otam, you're saying George Soros actually is working very hard for Barack Obama and the Clintons to remove Trump, even if it means breaking every law. So Trump is being persecuted by this gang of thugs, and the CIAs, FBIs are all working against Trump. But Trump, I don't know. When it comes to Trump, it's a bit murky here. But there you go. So, and before that, of course, the president of Somalia was working in different administrative roles in the United States before returning to his native Somalia as a prime minister in 2010, a position he would only hold for 8 months. And then he was elected president in February 2017. And his administration has close ties with Washington, and of course, since then. So people have been wondering, Somalis are allowed to have dual nationalities because having fled years of conflict, drought and economic hardships that has plagued the strategic Horn of Africa, it was becoming very difficult for Somalis to travel across the world. So they were allowed actually to have dual citizenships, especially those who fled the country and become refugees in other country. After some times, they were neutralized into those countries, and so they are allowed to hold dual nationalities. So after becoming president there, President Famajo started the process of relinquishing his U.S. citizenship. That means he's not a U.S. citizen now
no,
anymore.
He's not.
That means if trouble...
he can't go there.
And I'm praying there's nothing more...
He can't go there.
So he cannot run to...
No.
But what is interesting is I was doing some research is that all his family and his children, they have not relinquished.
No. He can only go to Canada. Now he can go to Canada. He has spoiled everywhere. He can't come to Kenya. He can't run into Uganda because he's making Ugandan troops to be killed.
But Uganda was helping them in training the electoral officers. You remember during that time?
So he is in catch-22.
Uganda was training the Somali Electoral Commission on how to conduct the elections. So maybe Museveni in his kind-heartedness might
no, he can. The only way Famijo is left with is to go to Canada, because the wife holds a Canadian passport, and the children also hold Canadian passports, and then they hold also British. American passports.
So they have Canadian passports.
Yes.
They have US passports.
They
have. How is that even?
So Somalia elected somebody, an American. They never elected a Somali president. The other one, the prime minister, is a Norwegian. At least for him, that
the prime minister is a Norwegian.
A Norwegian, yes. The Hassan.
So you have foreigners there.
Yes. This guy is shout on TV all the time. They write insults, kafir, what? They are all ruling a country. None of them has a Somali passport. That's the crisis. That is the crisis.
All right, that's very interesting there.
You didn't know that the prime minister is a Norwegian. He's a Norwegian citizen.
But has he not surrendered his
No.
religion? But I guess the constitution allows.
He can't surrender because he has property in Norway. Then he has another house in Ankara, in Turkey. He has another apartment in United Arab Emirates. He has another one. Qatar government is buying him another one. You see, I follow these guys every day. I want to find out why Somali people are suffering when these people eat the money.
Corruption.
So if that is wrong, then don't be it. We are trying to fight to pacify Somalia. But the rate of corruption in Somalia by Famijo, Hassani Harrier, and the rest of these men who only arrived to take over Somalia and make Abdul Hamid Samad. He can't talk anymore, he's gone.
He's here. And he said, the Prime Minister, being that he's also having a foreign passport, he's saying that is an internal affair, and he gives their smiley face. All right.
Internal affairs, do you live on planet Earth or planet Venus? You live in African Union. We have to criticize you, Mr. Hamad.
Abdisamad, yes.
We have changed your behavior. Elect leaders who have now Somali passport. It is only my country called Uganda that accepts Somali without a visa. And thank you very much, President Milton Obote, who put the rules, not Museveni. Please. Museveni found the rules. Most of these people say Museveni. No. When you see South Sudanese saying, oh, Museveni, it is us who brought Garang in Kampala. In 1982, we collected Garanga from Ethiopia with SPL and brought them in Uganda. Gave them an office to fight for the total liberation of South Sudan. Not the people forget. We used to dine with Garanga here. Myself, in Runda, we had a house there. In 1985, 86. It's not these guys. It is Uganda. It is Milton Obote who brought South Africans, gave them a base in Kampala.
These South Africans who are now killing us.
Who kill us? No. You saw South Africans saying we shall kill all Africans
and
except Ugandans.
Oh, they said that?
Yes, there's a tape. Am I wrong? There's a tape running around. They say the only African they love in South Africa are Ugandans, because we are the first people outside the frontline state who allowed these men to take our passports and become Dr. Masiko, Dr. Matsanga, You know there are Matsangas in South Africa and Zimbabwe. There's a Dr. Matsanga there, a full clan in Ikwekwe. If I tell you the story, what happened in the Sheraton Hotel, someone came to see Matsanga, this one, and I was in this one. I saw someone I'd never seen in my life. It's another story for... there's a program we have here which we have not shown for some time. The news, the Anakat. So these are some of the tragedies of Africa. And the tragedy of Africa is Somalia continues to go against the will of the rest of Africa. Somalia picks money to show you that the government, yes, the SPLA was founded in 1983, but Garanga was fighting before 1983. So what is your point, sir? Garanga and General Nimeri were having fights, and another general who took part in the government of national unity. Garanga has been fighting before that. The formation of SPLA is not my problem. I didn't say I brought SPLA in Kampala. We brought Garang. So we don't know whether it's color yellow or what, but we brought him in Kampala and gave him the offices. The time of the coup in 1985, Garanga was in Kampala, was part Museveni found us. It is actually SPLA that overthrew us. Because Basilio Lalo Okero went and collected these SPLAs and gave them Uganda uniforms. They came and overthrew us. On 27th of July, Saturday, 10 o'clock, daytime savannah, east of Africa, we lost power. And we remained useless on this planet up to today. There's nothing that is painful like having no state. That you are called a stateless man. So it's very painful.
Othajia Kok, thank you for writing to us. And are you aware about, there's a very damning report that by the UN last week about South Sudan that right now they're recruiting more child soldiers in a wake of, we were hoping that, the process of forming the unity government they'll meet the deadlines. They said they will. But last week also the president came out and said, you know what, if Riek Machar does not show up in Juba in good time, he does not care. He'll go ahead and form the unity government. So this problem seems to be, they will be prolonging until I don't know when. But what is worrying is the recruitment of new child soldiers. I don't know if you're aware of that, and if so, please write to us and let us know what you know in that.
Hunter Amoro. This is from Mogadishu.
Yes. What's going on here? Why is it mentioned my president's name?
Yeah, your president called me a fat kafir. A fat kafir. A kafir. That's what he called me. We like Sisi Abidi from Somalia. He says, if it is true, if you have a passport of another country, you don't be in Africa. It's true. But you elected a president, Somalia President, called his USA identity. So this indicates he is not a homeless like other Africans. Then he was homeless. Then he came to lie to Somalis, MPs, to vote for him. Why didn't he stand with other Somali people who had their ID? That was a rigged election. Therefore, when he comes back from Unga, that the MPs table emotion.
They come from the same, all the leadership in Somalia come from the same clan, right? So when you take the politics down to the clanism, that really advises a lot of, especially...
Including the father of the judge.
It's the same clan.
The same clan. The father of Judge Yusuf of ICJ is advisor to Famijo. So you tell me how Kenya will get a fair trial.
The father to the deciding judge in the ICJ between Kenya and Somali case, the father to that judge is an advisor to Famijo.
Yes. And Abdi Yusuf, the judge at the International Court of Justice, was the consultant in the same office consulting on maritime law for the government of Somalia. You tell me how he's going to make a judgment in favor of a neutral judgment. Somalia first. Abdi Biro, I am not even seeking 1 inch. But remember, my blood has flowed in Mogadishu, Balidoa, and other areas. We are coming, Mr. Ochuchuku, Heredok Adeko. We are coming on next is Nigeria.
Yes, indeed. And under Nigeria, we have, we'll talk about Boko Haram because we're trying to look at what is wrong with Nigeria. Is it the curse of oil or the bad constitution? And in the problems that are plaguing Nigeria today and the problems that we think that Nigeria should be putting in its forefront and trying to find solutions to. We'll look at Biafra and, of course, the level of corruption and Boko Haram, among other issues that are plaguing Nigeria. So do we just go straight to, because I think we've done an hour there on Somalia.
Yes, and on Kenya, don't forget,
yes.
We did that on Kenya. The only thing that I did not mention, stress up in Kenya, is Senator Majority Leader Murkomen should resign.
Oh, you forgot that very important point.
Yeah, so I've made it. He should leave. If you want the commander...
Should he resign as
yes,
majority leader?
He can even quit the party because he's useless in the party. You can't be a leader of majority to present the government procedure, then you go on insulting the president on a daily basis. Then the commander who comes out openly and says, I will support, you want to kill commander like now. You've seen the motion they have passed on commander? And
I saw Aisha Juma really criticizing commander, and I think she's done the same.
Aisha Juma has told us what she is. If I were a Kenyan listening to politician, I wouldn't even give her a microphone. She told us that you must swing the West. Swing it so nicely. So she has found someone who swings it.
It's called belly dancing.
I don't know. You can call it belly dance, but I am a real African. I say swinging the West.
Kuningua kiuno ni kubelly dance, I think.
Kubelly dance. She's being very moderate because today is Sunday.
I'm moderate every day.
Let's leave it that way. She's the one who moderates my debates. But thank you very much, viewers. That's the politics of Kenya.
Yes, it did.
And the senator of Elengoya Marakwet came up and said, the DCI is targeting my people.
Yeah, he said that actually.
The money got lost. Now, when the president comes into such a situation as a president, he says the technical team is not representative. Let me ask, because if we leave this, some stupid people will misuse it. If we want the IEBC should have 45 people, all coming from 45 tribes. Isn't it?
The IEBC committee.
Yes, how big will that IEBC be?
No, that we're trying to cut down the wage bill, so we can't.
So, Elengoya Marakwet Senator wants any committee, any technical committee, anything to have proportional representation. Not proportional. What is it? To have
regional representation.
Regional.
But as we think about that, are we looking at, are they qualified to be there, or we just pick people because...
But when the PS were selected, we were also selected on regional.
Yeah.
So these PSs are not only that, but they are also regional. So, you know, there's a lot that I've written an article. You can see it on my Facebook post, the legacy trend. Read it and you can see why I believe there is something wrong.
And before we proceed, Doctor, here, Sisid Abdi is saying, how can we trust him if he has 2 national passports? He can be a double agent. He seems to be worried about leaders of African countries having 2 passports. They could be working for another country.
Exactly.
People not know.
Exactly.
Abdi, thank you. Thank you for that.
Abdi has come.
That is Sisid Abdi, I think, not Abdi Rahman.
Anoka Maroko Peter says, Dr. Masanga talks about the issues of facing African countries. The secrets of keeping Somalia problems under the table is the same way, the same thing keeping Somalia in the mess from...
More than 25
Exactly. You see, when Somalis, when you want to point out a mistake, they start threatening you. Oh, we shall kill you. Oh, we shall come and do this.
We shall bomb you.
Yes. This is why Somalia has got 25 years under the same.
Because there are people benefiting from this mess.
Yes, the local people don't know.
So the less you talk about it,
the more they eat.
The establishment here.
Did you know that they had sold the oil already? Somalis are saying oil is ours. Oil is ours. But they have sold this oil. The Prime Minister has sold the oil to a British company. He's sold it already. No Somali will get anything.
In actual sense, Somalis, even a report said 99% of the proceeds of all that sales will go to another country. Somalis will not even benefit.
No.
Who are supposed to be benefiting?
So he wants us to fight over water, which you notice that when you are at the coast, the Indian Ocean goes away somewhere to visit some people.
It goes away and comes back later.
Yes, about 2 miles away.
It does, yeah. Depending on what time of the day.
Yeah, it goes. Then later on, after visiting that place, it returns. So, you know, one day, there are people, it goes to visit God, maybe. Where is that meeting point, that hall that takes the entire world?
The tides, yeah.
There might be God is there. And then go to greet God, then say, I'm now going.
Go back to Kenya.
Yes, I'm going back to the... So this is something which is not yours. Then you are arguing over it and putting that I want a border. Africa is looking for a borderless Africa. Why do we need borders now? We are going to have one passport. AU is giving out a passport which makes you viable to travel from Mogadishu.
Where AU?
Yes, but it is issuing a one African passport.
That means if I should be going to another Africa,
you don't need a visa.
I don't require a visa.
No. So why do we need a border? Why can't we just say this Indian Ocean, this oil, let's all eat. Whatever comes out, we put in a company, no corruption, pay our money on our accounts.
But I don't think that is what Kenya is seeking, because if Kenya was interested really in exploring that place for monetary gains or for whatever,
Kenya is not.
It would have. So that
Kenya is not seeking
to do that.
From that, it is only saying this is a matter that Africans can sit, and this is a matter where you can only have consent. I talked about the consent here.
On Friday.
Yes, he should have given consent to Kenya. Can we go to court or we arbitrate? You can't rush this thing to the court without arbitration.
It's already there now, so you wait for no.
No, you can.
Kenya can refuse.
Yes.
There's a window. There's a leeway for that.
Not Article
36.
Article 36(5). You can make a declaration again. Say, I'm not coming. That Somali is finished. If they want, they will not go ahead with the case without Kenya. And this court is not criminal.
So there will not be a warrant.
No, this is not a criminal court like ICC that they will summon you.
Warrant of arrest.
No.
There will be no warrant of arrest. No. Okay. But we're just hoping for an amicable solution to this problem. It should not.
Amicable solution is constitutive law. That law is constitutive of AU. That's why AU put a mechanism that there are things that you can discuss, but not borders.
Is that why then Somalia went to ICJ, because AU is not open to
Because Famiglio works for America. The American man in Texas, I've told you, is the one who paid all this money. That is disturbing people in East Africa. I swear, by next week, I'm going to deliver this guy to the world. They are paying for this oil. They paid for it. This Somali men in exile sold Somalia.
In cahoots with who?
With the British, French, Norwegian. They sold Somalia. And I'm crying for them, and they're here yapping. This thing has been sold. Iliuzwa. Miriam, long time ago.
By the preceding president before for me.
No, this one.
It
The other president never knew there was an agreement.
But the auction happened when he was the president. So
No.
It started before.
They didn't auction.
The meeting that happened.
They made the money. Did you know that the same company that was given to survey is the same company that did the contract?
Only then, the Prime Minister now was working with Soma.
Not working with Soma.
He was part of Soma.
He's the executive director of Soma.
So he owns Soma.
He owns Soma.
Together with...
He sold Soma. He sold Soma for $50 million. I would like to know where it went. It could be the money killing us. I have a reason to do so. Hallelujah. How are you? Mr. Famijo, you touched the wrong button. You called me kafir. Fine. You see that? And he opted out of the company when he saw the chaos. I've got everything. Stage by stage. The date when he opted out, when he sold. He even went as far as sponsoring from dirty money on British soil. He sponsored a meeting.
He's the one who sponsored them.
Yes.
That happened in London in 2022.
The oil and the gas meeting. He paid for the meeting.
In 2012, I think.
So who are these? I want you to play this step of a Nigerian governor who has just been sentenced on Friday. Production, hold the fire. You know, for me, I talk with God. God helps me. You will laugh.
So in Nigeria, so do you just jump into...
No. There is something, it is very important that people know that there is, it will inform you, it will give you a very good understanding of why I am looking for these people. You see, this is Stephen played his step for the people. We want the people to know that we don't talk with this man, this video, there you are. A Nigerian governor was a sweeper in weeks in London. He left and went back home. He stole money and went back home.
He stole from London?
Yes, from the till.
Okay.
Then he was sacked from the job. He lost the job. He went back home. He stood as a governor of one of the states. The same habit, he started looting, banking 2.5 million pounds, 1.5 million pounds. He bought houses. He bought lots of houses. He bought shops, buildings. The British government took time watching him. Finally, he even had 8 accounts. You are going to see the story. And you can see it at home very nicely. Where he had actually deposited. Because we were coming to Nigeria. That's why this tape is very important. What has killed Nigeria? Is it the constitution? Is it the leadership? Which does not see that Boko Haram, which allows human rights abuses. What has killed Nigeria? That's what I'm talking about. And that's what I'm going to discuss now. So let's look at this clip. If Stephen is ready, tell us. Yes, let's go.
Now, few politicians rise and fall like James Ibori. From a humble start as a cashier at a Neasden DIY store, he became a state governor in Nigeria. But for 8 years, he systematically looted and stole to fund a lifestyle of fast cars and luxury properties. Tomorrow, he'll be sentenced for fraud and money laundering worth £50 million. The trial was in London, where he deposited his stolen money, often in cash, with no questions asked. So why didn't Britain's high street banks do more to stop him? Our business correspondent Sarah Smith reports.
James Ibori, once a powerful Nigerian politician, now lives in a British jail. It's a long way from the gilded splendour he's used to. Ibori's career began in London. When he worked in the Wicks DIY store in Neasden in 1991, he was convicted of stealing from the till. A few years later, he was the elected governor of the oil-rich Delta state in Nigeria, and he was still stealing, but now it was millions of pounds. He bought luxury cars like this Bentley and properties in London, spending over £2 million on this house in Hampstead. When he was arrested, he was trying to buy a £13 million jet. Tomorrow, he will be sentenced for money laundering and fraud.
The fact that this has happened, I cannot stress how internationally significant it is, because this man was a powerful governor of Delta State, and he has now been brought to a book, and it shows that no one is untouchable.
This is being hailed as a major victory for the British justice system. A corrupt foreign leader who couldn't be prosecuted in his own country, finally brought to justice right here in the UK. But before we start feeling too proud of ourselves, let's take a closer look at the multiple British bank accounts James Ibori used to smuggle those stolen millions out of Nigeria. Banks like Barclays, where Ibori had at least 6 accounts, as did his sister, his wife and his mistress. Accounts they used to launder millions.
James Ibori was able to bring millions of pounds of his looted funds through British banks to buy British houses, to send his children to British schools using a British solicitor. The UK has helped to facilitate his money laundering and his corruption by allowing him to bring his assets into this country.
British banks have to identify politically exposed persons, like foreign politicians who could be a corruption risk, and identify any suspicious transactions they make. Yet, somehow, Ibori, a very politically exposed person, was able to put £1.5 million through one of his accounts in the Knightsbridge branch of Barclays Bank. Vast amounts of cash were just handed over the counter. And remember, this is £1.5 million from a man whose published annual salary was just £4,000 a year, and who, according to the Nigerian constitution, wasn't even allowed to hold any bank accounts outside Nigeria. You would think alarm bells would have been ringing inside Barclays, and very loudly. I spoke to Barclays today. They wouldn't discuss Ibori's accounts, but they told me they do have robust anti-money laundering policies in place. A recent report by the Financial Services Authority found there were serious weaknesses in many British banks' safeguards against money laundering. And they said some banks appeared unwilling to turn away or exit very profitable business when there appeared to be an unacceptable risk of handling the proceeds of crime. Ibori isn't the first corrupt political leader to stash his cash in Britain. Billions in stolen funds have washed through our banks. This case shows the courts can take action. The question is whether our banks will do the same.
Oh.
Very interesting revelation there.
There you are.
This person stole in the UK. He came back to Nigeria. He was elected.
Yes.
And that is how we reward bad behavior here. Even the corrupt here in Kenya, one person is mentioned very adversely in matters corruption and stealing of public funds. The next thing you know, they run for a political office and we reward them.
Yeah, and that's what has happened. So what is wrong with Nigeria? What's wrong with Nigeria? Is it the curse of oil or the bad constitution? Does the 1999 constitution give Nigerians the happiness to live together, to work together, to eat together without human rights abuses? These are my questions. Then you look at, it's one of the most populous countries in Africa, with a population of 200 million people, or over. But they are a laughing stock of Africa. A laughing stock in the sense that a country has no fuel, it produces crude oil, which is taken away, and no fuel in the petrol stations. It produces enough money to buy medicine. There are no medicines in the hospitals. It produces enough to give people enough lights, enough roads, no roads. Roads have become potholes. Pothole are not even a pothole, crater. A car goes down for one day, then it comes out after 6 hours in a crater. So if you leave London to go for Christmas, you must start early in order to arrive to your father's ancestral home. It's a country with vast brains. But there is a problem. Is it the constitution? Is it the leadership? Is it the people? What is the problem of Nigeria? Look at that clip. We used to go to Britain without a visa. But because of such things, the British government put a visa. We used to go to China and do things and come back. Because of our bad behavior as Africans, we have spoiled some hotels in China that they have put a signpost. Don't allow this country, that country to book here. Because of our problems, we have gone to Dubai, killed it. When you reach Dubai airport, the immigration officer asks you, are you from Nigeria? This is something, a tag we should shed off as Africans. And that is why today I chose this topic. When you come to human rights abuses, the suffering of the people of Biafra is something that pains me every day. For 4 years, I've talked about the Biafran conflict. Nobody wants to listen to it. It's growing day by day. It is magnifying itself day by day. Nobody wants to see it. Nobody wants to talk about it. Nobody wants to bring it to the AU. Nobody wants to bring it to the EU. EU now, Namdi Khan went and addressed EU in Geneva.
He's now in Japan right now as you speak.
Addressing to tell them there is a situation there where younger men are being tortured, they are being killed, they are being eaten, they are being raped, they are being done all types of things. Tribe against tribe, the Fulani versus the other tribes and the vice versa. Since elections, 84 million people, only 28 voted. Where did the rest go? Is that legitimacy? 28 million voted.
There was an indictment.
Is an indictment.
To the system.
Is it the leadership in Nigeria? Is it the constitution? If the constitution is bad, look at the judiciary, the picking of judges, the picking of ministers.
There has been a constitutional coup in Nigeria and the rest, a lot of African countries, because when you look at the constitution, I'm sure there are provisions when it comes to the anti-corruption laws there. And as we can see here, of course, the other day, was it maybe a month ago, President Buhari, after Nigerians were named, I think there's a list by the FBI about a syndicate of people who are con people online, and a lot of people from the US, and I think out of the 80 people that the FBI gave, I think over 70 was Nigerians. And so the president came out of him and he said, you know what, right now these few individuals are trying to tarnish Nigeria's good name. So he's trying to now, repair and clean up the image. So he said he'll go strong on this. But when you see Buhari coming out and saying things like this, and yet this James Ibori was a governor in his own country and was able to loot the money and take it to the offshore accounts in And Buhari
and he is arrested.
and he did nothing. And
He is arrested abroad,
Nigeria.
charged abroad. It's a shame.
It's a shame.
It's a very big shame that in Africa we cannot charge people. When you talk about Somalia, you see how Somali people come to insult you because you are exposing a problem about Somalia. Somalia is number last. The last, where heavy corruption, the worst on planet Earth with corruption. You saw the index that came out.
World Bank.
World Bank said, if you are looking for the thing called corruption, go to Mogadishu, go to Somalia. Now, if you talk about Somalia, people don't want. They say you are touching our son, Famijo, or Mr. Cheese.
Someone here is still challenging your cheese remarks. He's saying his children love cheese. Perhaps you should try cheese. But anyway, that's a conversation for another time. So yeah, that is the problem we have. And in Nigeria, of course, Nigeria's federal system gives governors great responsibilities in addressing the issues that are driving conflicts, that including Boko Haram, corruption, and things like that. But when you have such a governor and that amount of money that he has looted from his own federal state, and the government, even the central bank in Nigeria, has not been able to trace that. Do we even have a government in Nigeria? And not just him.
There is a government in Nigeria as per terms of governance. Election was conducted. There is no ombudsman of elections in Africa because even the AU itself tells some countries not to go to an election which they supervised and monitored and observed. Therefore, we have no ombudsman who can stand in the middle to tell us whether there is an election, a government or not. You saw Kabila's handing over power. The AU wrote to all African heads of state never to attend.
Only President Uhuru Kenyatta
yes.
and his entourage.
So
yes.
We have nothing. We have left to kill each other, to take each other to the white man's court in The Hague, to go and plead with our brothers, to bank in US, in UK. Look at the amounts of money that are stashed abroad. Mugabe, I told you the story of Mugabe dying, and I went to collect his papers. The bank had papers sealed in an envelope, bank statements. So the government, Mnangagwa, gave me a letter to go and collect those on behalf, bring them to Zimbabwe. I found Mugabe's account had only £10,000 and some 96 pence after 18 years in power. Tell me, that is a leader. But go to these leaders. Go. Check every African leader and check the account. So what does our money work for? How? Mr. Kabila, I saw him in Harare. I did not even want to say hi. But I was forced because I was in those areas where the VIPs were. He said, when are you coming to Kinshasa to do my PR? I said, I will come. But he said there was no money to run an election in the DRC Congo. Yet, the sister carries diamonds that can run an election and there's a balance to build 20 hospitals. They carry gold, direct diamonds into market, sell them. They have a certificate because you are not going to arrest them. Isn't it? They have a certificate. You tell me.
Kabdirisak Dax, you're saying even Somalia is better than Nigeria and other African countries because they're smarter than others. But here's the thing also, in terms of you saying that Somalia is better than Nigeria. Actually, Nigeria is ranked in the world. Listen, in the whole of the universe, Nigeria is ranked, is the country that has the most poor people. According to Poverty Index, Nigeria leads, tops the world. Forget even about Somalia or Sudan, countries that have been plagued with war for a very long period of time. Nigeria leads. And when you see this being the largest economy in Africa and the biggest democracy, which that is, I think, debatable. I think things might have changed right now. But it's quite, that tells you, when you see something like this happening, that will explain why Nigeria is the way it is and the level of poverty it leads across the world. So that if Buhari is not worried about that, I don't know what else he should be worried about.
But let's look at the question of a referendum. The Biafran people have been singing about a referendum. Are there possibilities of a referendum at all, Miriam?
I think when you look at what Nnamdi Kanu has been doing, and he's been very strategic. I think last week here, I had a show here. I think you're not present, and I was just asking Biafrans, do you even have confidence in your leader, Nnamdi Kanu? And they came out very resounding, and they said, yes, this is the person that is leading us. This is the person that has been sacrificing so much to see that Biafrans are free. And we've been seeing the way he's been meeting with. He met last week with some envoys from the United Nations, and right now he's in Japan. So he's trying to advance Biafran interest. I think he's very strategic in the manner in which he's doing. And so when you look at what he's doing and the confidence and the hope that the Biafrans have, I think at the end of it all, Biafra will finally become a state, and they'll go back to where they were in 1967, because they were declared a state then.
Yeah.
And then that was, of course, rubbished. But the way things have been moving, I think there's some hope of Biafra becoming a country with the support that Kanu is receiving across the world. He's being allowed into platforms that are previously. Even President Buhari is not allowed, but you see they're allowing him to come there and address and talk about Biafra. So when you look at things like that, there's hope. And yes, Obuchuk, you're saying they're 100% confidence in him, and that's a good thing. So I think such confidence you have in him, I think, gives him the strength and to wake up every day and to fight for your rights. And he's bringing the Biafra matter to the map of the world. So there is hope that actually Biafra country might be realized as soon as we can even tell, and together with Amazonia, although I don't know what's happening there. Somebody here asked us earlier about these peace talks that President Paul Biya is now calling for. It's supposed to start before the end of this month, and I think we're just talking about it here on Friday, how he's sending some emissaries to these different countries to try to reach out to Amazonia. I don't know how many people he has for them to send all over the world where Amazonians are, for him to really this outreach to work. But hey, that's what is happening there in Cameroon. But in Nigeria, I think it's very clear. Biafrans are very clear about what they want. Their leader is very clear about what he wants, and they have confidence in the leader. And they've not been wrangles as compared to what sometimes goes on in Amazonia. So because of that unity of purpose, maybe they'll realize this dream of having Biafra a country.
Thank you very much. Corruption. We have talked about it. Boko Haram. Boko Haram seem to be one of the menace that is killing Nigeria. They have intensified attacks against civilians. They have destroyed villages. They have created a humanitarian catastrophe into other parts of Nigeria. And why the government cannot ask for international help is because Nigeria has an army, is equipped, but I don't know why the army cannot flash out and pacify the entire region.
Well, about last week, of course, Nigeria's army, the one you're mentioning, wondering what they're doing. Last week, Nigeria's army stopped the work of international NGO Action Aid Hunger, accusing it of supplying the militant group Boko Haram with foodstuffs, and the army said it had warned the NGO against aiding and abating Boko Haram in northeast of Nigeria. So they're claiming that action against hunger is actually the one that is feeding, Boko Haram in the name of NGO. But by 2015, of course, Boko Haram had seized control of much of Borno State. Like, they've seized the whole state and a huge part of Nigeria. And there's a time here we were talking about the insurgents that started at the Kenyan coast. You remember the ones who were saying, Pwani si Kenya. The government put a stop to that nonsense. Have you ever heard of such nonsense again in the coastal region of Kenya? No. So why the government of Nigeria has allowed this menace of Boko Haram to grow to the magnitude that it has, it baffles me every day.
Not only baffling, it sounds like a conspiracy against the civilians. you don't see much success story coming from the fight against Boko Haram. The whole of Nigeria is in a grief or holding their breath that hey, we don't know what is going to happen tomorrow.
And of course, one of its most notorious attacks was in a school in Chibok, northeast Nigeria, when 276 schoolgirls were kidnapped. I think this brought Boko Haram into the world map. Many of them were freed, but the whereabouts of more than 100 are still unknown. And since 2013, Boko Haram is thought to have kidnapped more than 1,000 people and counting, because kidnapping now has become a very viable trade there in Nigeria. You're kidnapped, they ask for ransom, and then you pay, and then you're left alone. So that has become another entrepreneurship skill there in Nigeria. So Boko Haram, and Buhari has come out to try to explain, because people have told him even to his face, you are the one aiding this group, because if you really wanted to finish this group, you would have even allowed the help that other countries were willing to bring to Nigerians to help you, the intelligence that other countries were willing to help you with, your government with, to help fight Boko Haram, but you have refused. So you are abating, you are helping Boko Haram, and he came out and said no. So now he's acting as if now he's the army, they don't want, apparently they're claiming the army, the NGO is the hunger, action against hunger is feeding Boko Haram, and that is not the truth. They just tilting around the main issue here, and the main issue is Boko Haram has grown and thrived during the leadership of President Buhari.
Well, thank you very much, Miriam. You have summarized it so well, and the earlier President Buhari seeks help, international help, the better. We can't continue to see people dead, houses burned, and more of these terrorists, as things, American troops now go to station themselves in Saudi Arabia. Most of these terrorists will now flow back on the African continent. And that is where the rubber meets the road. And that's what I think. But all in all, we have to give it to the people of Africa that time has come to realize, to talk about this problem, and we want to continue talking about it until we get to the bottom of it. What ails Nigeria? Most people say the constitution. The 1999 constitution is very bad. It gives a lot of powers to the president, who can do anything at any time. So can we look at the 1999 constitution? I looked at bits of it and I found some truth is there, because in Nigeria the president appoints us like now. The president will appoint a person to look after the fact that institution, and he can sack the chief justice.
Yeah, like he did with the last Chief Justice just before the elections in
So it might be the constitutional order.
Because the constitution in Nigeria, it has been argued, is very militarized. It was derived from the military because Nigeria was militarized until 20 years ago under military rule. So that has not really changed much, and so it's not working, especially to address the emerging issues right now in Nigeria, and it's not par. With what is happening there in Nigeria. So perhaps they should review it. But there has been argument that it's quite militarized, the constitution of Nigeria there. Yes.
Thank you very much, Miriam. I think, unless you have something.
No, I think I'm done. I think I'm done. Mine is just to encourage our viewers. We meet here tomorrow. Egyptians are back in the Tahrir Square. So I'll bring you the latest tomorrow and see.
Do it.
Is it time for Al-Sisi to move?
Al-Sisi, yes, do it.
Hoping to be in power till when?
2023.
No.
2032.
32 years. So
that is Africa for you.
It's Africa for you, yes. So I'll bring you the latest tomorrow, and of course, news across Africa. But for now, we thank you so much for engaging with us. Abdi Samad, Ali, Odile, Bartholomew, who is this again? Sari Bral, Wawa Wadonio, saying the Nigerian government is recruiting members of Boko Haram into the army and police, calling them repented Boko Haram. They're not reformed. and the rest of you, Nwota Ani, and the rest of you, Farhan Atan. You've been very passionately engaging with us this afternoon. We thank you. And Oguchuku Hadrok Edoka, thank you so much. So let's meet here tomorrow, 11 a.m. East Africa time, for another new edition of Good Morning Africa, where I'll be bringing you the latest that has happened since Friday, yesterday, and today, of course. We'll have a lot to talk about tomorrow. So let's meet here tomorrow, 11 a.m. East Africa time. But for now, thank you.
Thank you very much. To this station, therefore, is for Africa by Africa with Africa Child.